So while those plugs are all, while the glue's all drying, the only slightly sort of tricky thing to do that's left is to take our little balls, our little wooden balls. These are 36mm, about 1.5 inches, just to sit on top of each of the posts. And you can get some of these on eBay that are drilled all the way through, so you can thread them on a string. That don't get there is just get the plain ones. The slightly tricky part is you've got to drill a hole in them, and we've got to find some way of attaching them onto our posts. Now, you could use dowels. What I'm going to suggest you use is something called a dowel screw. It's like a double-ended. Don't know if that's going to focus. Probably not. No, it's not. Double-ended sort of screw, which presents its own sort of particular challenges. But the first one is how to hold the little wooden balls still, because fairly obviously it's it's going to roll around. What you need to remember as well, of course, is it's a little wooden ball, so it's got grain on it. So you want to avoid drilling or screwing into the end grain, and you want to go into the sort of flat of the grain. So choose which way you want it orientated, and then one of the best ways I've found, with these small holes, is to just get a spade bit or an auger or whatever, a bit of a reasonable size. And just drill a hole. Then your ball just sits in there, nice and steady, nice and ready. So we've got our little ball in a hole here. And all we want to do, just to that'll hold there nice and steady. We just want to get a 3mm drill bit, and obviously you've got to, at the risk of stating the obvious, if you've got a drill press, this is really, really easy, because you can just put that under your drill press and drill straight into it nice and perpendicular. The tricky part is doing it freehand. I'll do it freehand now. You can do it, it's not difficult. What I do, it's a good trick, and whether you're drilling sort of perpendicular like this or into a wall, and you want to try and get as perpendicular as a hole as you can. I actually learned this trick. Oh goodness! I did a degree in photography, film, and television, and I was about a year or two out of college. And me and a college pal of mine were working with two photographers. We were their assistants, and these guys were moving to a new studio. They were leaving the company where they were, and because I was handy, I was sort of seconded to help the carpenter and the builder. And it was only a summer, so 6-8 weeks, something like that. But man, I did not want to be there. I wanted to be back in the studio, fiddling about with lighting and this, that, and the other, and getting into photography. But this is one of the tricks that I learned from these two guys, James and Jeffrey. They were the names, and it's interesting. You probably not a week, but most months, there's something that I learned during those sort of 6 or 8 weeks that I draw on for the work I'm doing now. So I guess the lesson there is, whatever you end up doing, do it with sort of eyes and ears and your mind open, because you never know when what you learn is going to come in handy. Anyway, to drill a nice perpendicular hole, you can usually literally eyeball where the centre is, and you just start drilling, and then as you drive it in, just bring the drill round to 90 degrees, yeah? And as you do that, you can feel whether it's going out of whack or not. And that's the same with you drilling into a wall or down into something. It's just it's an easy, simple way to make sure that you're going in, more or less perpendicular. Just start off like that, and then as you go, just turn it to 90 degrees. And you get a nice perpendicular hole. So yeah, thanks to James, or Jeffrey, for that one. So yeah, the next question is, how on earth do you drive a double-ended screw like that, pinball, into a ball? And the easy answer is, you take any regular drill driver with a traditional sort of Jacobs type chuck, and you just fit the screw into it, hand tight. You drop your ball into the holder, and you just very carefully drive it home. See it again? Just hand tight. And the ball in the holder. Drive it home. So with our plugs all glued up, I'm just using a random orbital sander to bring these back flush with the surface, and a 120 grit abrasive does a nice job of taking down the excess quickly without being too aggressive on the workpiece. Okay, now I do have a bit of a confession to make. I bought the timber for this little project about a month ago, 6 weeks, something like that, and it's just taken me this long to get around to doing it because of pressures of commercial work, you know, client work, and because of that, it's actually twisted a little bit. It's a little bit cupped here and there, so some of these joins are a little bit gappier than, strictly speaking, they should be. So I'm just going to bang a little bit of 2-pack resin filler into those. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's the kind of thing I do all the time. But just to keep it as, you know, as clean looking as possible. Most of these will probably just fill with paint when you paint it, but it's not a bad practice to get things looking nice and tight anyway. And a little bit of 2-pack resin goes a long way when it's used sparingly. In case you were uncharitably wondering how true my craftsmanship was, unfortunately it's actually the far more expensive saw bench top that's bowed. Actually, it's very old and it needs replacing. But yeah, I wish it was this that was out of true, because that's an easy fix. Well, this is an easy fix too. It's just a bit more expensive. While the resin sets, we can mark out the base of the planter for drainage holes and drill them out with an auger bit or spade bit. Then trim off the corners of the base to make sure it fits around the beading. And finally, a quick rub over. With our filler set, we can sand off any excess to give our planter a nice smooth finish ready for painting. Then simply hand screw our decorative wooden balls into the tops of the posts using the holes we made earlier with our awl. Alright then, all that needs now is a coat of paint and we can get that in the garden. I'm using a water-based eggshell finish paint in a very dark grey, starting with a dark primer undercoat as recommended by the paint manufacturer. Starting with the inside, I'm working methodically around the planter and paying particular attention to all the joins. Once dry, the primer undercoat will show up any blemishes, both natural and accidental, so we can have one last round of quick drying filler before rubbing this down and repriming those areas. With everything ready for the final finish, we can apply this carefully with a brush and roller, again working the paint well into the joins and letting it all dry thoroughly before recoating. And not forgetting that we need to do the inside and the base as well. And that's it for this week's video. Here are some I made up earlier. They're all planted up, they look very nice. I hope you've enjoyed the build, hope you found it useful. If you've liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it freely amongst your friends, and do consider subscribing, then you'll be notified whenever I post something new. But for this week, that's everything for now. I hope to see you next time. Take care.